Still, you know what they say? Fat girls are grateful for it, said Ben. Jonathan had one he'd been saving up. Either you can sleep with any woman at any time, they can't say no, all you have to do is ask, and they have to do whatever you want them to do, but you also have to be buggered once a year on the radio. On the radio? Why not the telly? Because on the radio you try and keep quiet, but little noises would escape. And if you don't, then you get no sex, ever. Dino tried to think about it, but he couldn't. No sex was impossible. So was being buggered. I'm not answering that, I'm out. You answer it. Easy. I'd take the endless woman and the buggery. It would be worth it. Me too, said Ben. Think of the rewards. Puffs, said Dino. It probably means you're a suppressed homosexual. Dino pulled a face. I might as well be. Give it up, Dino, advised Ben. She isn't interested. I'm not thinking of her, insisted Dino. What a stupid waste, said Jonathan. Half the girls in the school are wetting themselves for him, and there he is, mission impossible, Jackie Atkins or nothing. Only the most gorgeous will do for our Dean. Dino smiled. You'll probably get it before I do, he said, and headed home. As he left the cloakroom, Dino paused to look at himself in the mirror. He liked what he saw. Jackie was the most gorgeous creature in the school, with one possible exception. Himself. Dino was it. He had dark hair speckled with blonde, full lips, and deep golden brown eyes. Girls fell into them and disappeared without ever being seen again. But Jackie was more than gorgeous. She was sensible. She already had a boyfriend, years older than her, and she thought Dino was a prat. Dino knew better. As the two officially most gorgeous people in the school, he and she belonged together. He didn't believe she didn't want him. He never had. It was just a question of how long he was prepared to wait. Chapter 2. The Incredible Journey. Dino strolled across the room of the Strawberry Hill Youth Club with just the slightest glance to check that John and Ben were following. He leaned on the wall and began a conversation with two girls. One of them bought him a Coke. The youth club wasn't the sort of place where the boys usually hung out. Dino persuaded his mates to come along because Jackie was there. Jackie obviously didn't understand something. He had right on his side. His good looks, a sudden smile that could charm the knickers off a supermodel, and a disarming openness that took you by surprise. Tonight's the night, he said. No chance, said Ben. She thinks you're a prat. And you are a prat too, observed Jonathan. Dino sighed. I'm scared, he confessed, and swigged his Coke. The girl who had bought it for him, who had been waiting by his side, uncomfortably being ignored for 5 minutes, walked off in a huff. Perhaps you ought to give it a miss, suggested Jonathan. Dino scowled. John and Ben exchanged a wry glance. Dino walked through life like a blind man, but angels guided his steps, and he never fell or tripped. It was just a matter of time. Surely that time was now. One reason why Jackie despised Dino so very much was because she was it too. She'd been it since she was little. Unlike Dino, she'd put such childishness behind her. She knew that she thought far too much of herself, but she couldn't avoid the conclusion that she was far more mature than most of her fellow students, certainly far more than any of the boys. To get anywhere with Jackie, you had to be so grown up, you were almost old. Her boyfriend Simon was 8 years older than she was. He had his own flat where she'd often stayed over. By his side, Dino was a foolish boy child. There was no reason on earth for her to swap. The club held its monthly disco that evening. Jackie had been going out with Simon for 2 years. She was very faithful, but she was starting to feel that she was missing out. Perhaps that was why, when Dino asked her to dance, she shrugged and let him hold her close and walked around the room with her. She allowed him to maneuver his thigh between hers, felt him swell against her stomach, and felt tickled. Tickled enough to allow him to kiss her, just out of curiosity. The kiss went further than she'd intended. Dino pressed her to him and murmured, "That makes me so happy." He rested one hand against the side of her face. "Come out with me, for a walk. Tomorrow afternoon. Please." Okay. Thanks." Dino didn't hang around. Some instinct made him leave her and go home before she changed her mind. Jackie staggered back to her group of friends. "Enjoy?" someone asked. "Don't get it myself," she replied coolly. But her heart had already begun the incredible, traitorous journey down to you-know-where. And once her heart had lodged in you-know-what, she was doomed. "See?" said Dino as they walked home. "She let me feel her tits as well," he confided. "How does he do it?" demanded Jonathan. "Do you think she suffered a temporary hallucination and thought he was Brad Pitt?" "I think she wants his body," said Ben. "Wow." Jonathan could only wonder at the luck of having a girl want you for your body. "Well, he has the personality of a doof. What else could it be?" asked Ben. "Don't be stupid," said Dino. He felt like a lion. If he'd been on his own, he would have roared. By the time she got home, Jackie was concerned enough to ring up her best friend, Sue. "You snogged Dino?" repeated Sue incredulously. "You have a date with Dino?" "It's not a date," insisted Jackie. "You snog a boy and then arrange to meet him and it's not a date. You don't like him, remember? What's the point of going out with a boy you don't like?" "I'm curious." Sue laughed at her. "Blokes like Dino, they're like some sort of addiction. You think you can handle it, and then you're hooked." Jackie refused the advice on principle and went to the park to spite her friend as much as anything. They walked along. He tried to hold her hand. She didn't let him, but he didn't seem put out. Dino whispered, "You're beautiful. You make me so happy." Dino was handing her his heart on a plate, even though she'd spent the past 10 years telling him to get lost. Then he tugged her off into the shrubbery for a snog, and she let him. Afterwards, Jackie thought, in the shrubbery? She had a boyfriend. He had a flat they could go to. But at the time, she didn't even think about it. Suddenly, there she was, leaning up against a tree with Dino's hand down her knickers. She was moaning, "Dino! Oh, Dino!" Saying his name like that turned her on even more, and they were at it for ages. In the end, he had to stop because his wrist was getting cramp. They were very tight jeans. She was in such a hormone-sodden state that she agreed to a date at the cinema midweek. Jackie couldn't work out if she spent the next few days in a dream or a nightmare. Dino was still a prat, only now, she realized, he was a mind-meltingly delicious prat. She kept picking up the phone to cancel the date and then putting it down without ringing. She couldn't get him out of her mind. Like Sue said, good-looking, horny and arrogant, irresistible. "It's awful. Am I in love?" "This is lust, babe." "But you can't fancy someone you don't even like," insisted Jackie. Sue shrugged. "I think they're supposed to happen at the same time, but I'm not always sure it works like that. I'll just do the date and then I'll tell him I don't want to see him again." "Why not tell him now? Why didn't you do it yesterday before it was too late?" "It isn't too late. That's silly." "Well, how often do you think about him?" "All the time," she confessed. Jackie went to the film, and it was fantastic. They never watched a second of it. When she undressed that night, she had little bits of popcorn all over her, which must have worked their way under her clothes while he kept feeling her all over. After the film, they walked the streets, and he confessed all his secrets to her. He made her feel as if she was the only person in the world that mattered to him. Only as she stood in the shower, rinsing away the popcorn, did she realize that in 5 hours, she'd barely said a word to him about herself, and he hadn't even asked. "Oh, shit," she murmured. But she didn't care. It was too late. She'd fallen in lust. Chapter 3. The Secret History. He caught the bus that Tuesday afternoon to the outskirts of town. After about 10 minutes, a yellow Renault pulled up next to him. "Hi." The young woman inside leaned over and opened the door for him. Ben climbed in, and they drove off. She was chatty today. Ali was a gossip. She told him a great story about Mr. Haid, maths, whose wife was having a nervous breakdown. As always, Ben was amazed. He couldn't even begin